Have you ever looked at a wall of different brands and logos, perhaps at a supermarket, and just felt overwhelmed, just struggled to take all the information in? Well, in such a crowded marketplace where often people have very little time, it's very important we understand the way humans process visual information. Armed with that knowledge, we'll then be able to structure our logos deliberately for success. So we're going to discuss something called the sequence of cognition. That's the order in which our brains perceive and process visual information. The first thing we perceive is shape, then colour, and finally form, or the final details. Let me give you an example to illustrate how this works and what our brains are focusing on at each stage. So we have here 3 different logos. They're currently all in full colour and all of their detail is showing. Now I'm deliberately showing these at a fairly small size because we want to replicate the kind of viewing experience someone might have of these logos from a reasonable distance away. So what does our brain see first when we process visual information? Well, the first element we see is shape. So this could be the overall form of your symbol or brand mark, the overall shape of the entire logo lockup. But our brains haven't yet processed colour, and we haven't processed the finer details, such as the language or type. Now, interestingly, even at this first level of cognition, the Nike swoosh and Apple icon can be instantly recognised without colour or type. Now granted, it has taken them millions in marketing to build that kind of awareness, and you and I will likely be working with a slightly lower budget in our projects. But going back to our example, what gets processed next? Well, it's colour. And colour can be a strong emotional trigger. It's also a powerful tool in differentiating. And in fact, from great distances, it can actually be processed before shape. Now, let me show you what I mean by this. In this example, I doubt any of us can see any shapes whatsoever on the packaging of these soft drinks. However, I bet you can tell exactly where the Coca-Cola is, can't you? Why? Well, because of that recognizable red color. So let's go back to our example one last time. What do our brains process next? Well, it's some of the detail and language. Now, language takes a little more time for our brains to process, as do the finer details, such as the nuance of a typeface or font. But it can be said that while shape and colour might grab the attention, it's the content, language that take us to the next level. So you might notice I've left some of the smaller details blurred for now, and this is to illustrate that at this size, they'll be processed last, if at all. So it's important to consider this, whether our logos will work, whether they're still recognizable as our brain goes through these stages. And understanding the sequence of cognition enables us to plan which elements of a logo and which messages our brain is going to assimilate first. It's a combined effort, but considering our logo design on each of these levels and considering how our audience is going to process the information we present to them can greatly enhance their effectiveness. So we've taken a look at culture and at the way we process visual information. Just before we start creating, let's get some inspiration in the next lesson.